Muscles hurt. How we doing? Good? Good morning.
Josh, we've seen the last couple of days some struggles from Jimmy with some inaccuracy, some interceptions. Normal type of thing during training camp? Any concerns or anything like that?
No concerns. I mean, we've also seen some really good throws and some, stretches where the offense is really doing a lot of good things. And I think this is that time of camp every year where it's very competitive. Everybody that's out there is really competing in their own position group. We're making progress and improving. And we're also seeing a lot of the same things daily from the other side of the ball. So this is about that time where you start to get excited to maybe compete against somebody else, that hasn't been looking at the same motions and formations and coverages and all the rest of it that, that you've been looking at since the beginning of OTAs. So, no, I think, look, there's some credit to be given to the other side when they make a play, and they're competing too. So I think it's just normal ebbs and flows of camp. Been some really good days, and then there's some plays where you get to coach off them. So that's what I think that is.
Last year, it seemed like in the defensive backfield, a lot of guys trying, but there was sometimes some discombobulation. Marcus Epps, I've watched him a lot. He's putting guys in spots. He's moving. Is a lot of the defensive success because of how Marcus is being a leader on the field?
I think we have a lot of guys that have really taken ownership of the communication on that side of the ball. I think we're starting to see where we're more connected on a play-to-play basis, and defense is all about 11 guys playing together. And if you got 9 guys doing one thing and 2 doing another, it's tough to win, because usually the offense will find the problem. I think Marcus does a tremendous job of communicating. He's a very mature player. He loves football. The conversation is almost always about football, whether we're at practice, in the building, eating lunch. It doesn't matter what it is. Marcus is really all in. I think he's rubbed off on some of his teammates. I see Trayvon and he almost, they're kind of like a pair walking through the building. And I think for guys that play together in the secondary back there at safety, I think that's a really good thing. So I think our guys are really embracing what we're doing. And again, that secondary as a whole, and I'd include the linebacker group in there. If you know what you do, if you know what you're going to do on every play, you know your job, you know where your teammates are going to be, it allows you to be more aggressive, play faster, and I think we're starting to see some of that.
Josh, as a head coach, do you have a preference, I guess, at this stage in training camp, if the offense is further ahead or the defense, or is it kind of just?
I've said this a lot. When you're a coordinator, you can have a really sharp day at practice, and when you're a head coach in training camp, it's tough to have a good day. Because whichever period you're in, if the offense wins the period, you feel a little less good about the defense, and if the defense wins the period, you feel a little less good about the offense. So, that's just a natural ebb and flow. I think we've seen some real progress on both sides, and then there's definitely things that we're going to try to fix and improve on here. Today's going to be, I'd say, a big correction day on all three, really in every phase of the game today. Not in pads, less, banging around today, more intentionality in terms of trying to fix a few things, because there's, through 9 or 10 practices, you see a lot of things you got to correct. And I think that taking, some time to address those on both sides and in the kicking game, I think that's a normal portion of training camp. I think we'll find out a lot next week when where you're going against somebody else and you have an opportunity to just, see yourself against a different scheme, against different players. It'll test your rules, it'll test your discipline, it'll test your technique and fundamentals. So, today's a good, cleanup day for us, and then, have a little bit of a rest here, and then, get back at it next week against San Fran. But I don't really have a preference. I hope we just keep making progress.
Getting to know and working with Marcus Peters?
I've said, I told you guys before, I've coached against him a number of times, and he and I go back and forth on that, because he's definitely made some plays against us, and we've made some plays against him. And but he's got a great spirit about him. He's a football player through and through. Really understands the game at an elite level. Really a smart player. The thing you don't know until you work with somebody is how much they're willing to offer other players, other younger people on their side of the ball or on the other side. And you see Marcus out there. He's willing to share, and he's really trying to help anybody that he can, along with the fact that he's trying to reestablish his level of performance year after year after year. You don't get to carry anything over, and you see him out there competing against the best guys we got, and he's excited to do that daily. But just, really, really excited about him and the things he does to help you play good defense, and you see those every day.
Talk about his spirit and kind of a mindset that he brings back there. Is that transferable maybe to other players?
Yeah, I think sometimes it can be, contagious in a way. And people I know sometimes people, think he takes chances. I don't really consider it that if it's calculated and it's, you use your preparation to be able to go do those things. That's just being a smart player, and having enough instincts to be able to do those things. So, Marcus has done it for a long time, and so I think there's some things to be learned from him, with the other guys in the secondary. And, I think our defense, like I said to Hondo a minute ago, I think there's a lot of things in our defense. We got some elder statesmen there now, and some guys that have some wisdom and experience that I think is good for the whole group.
Josh, going back to Michigan State, when we covered you, you've been a football junkie. On this team, you go get Robert, Marcus, you got a Max, Devontae, so many. You're bringing in football junkies, guys who play for the love. I'm just curious, as this team matures and grows, as you've been here longer, is that going to be one of those things that helps the Raiders turn the corner?
I hope so, and I think one thing that they do is they rub off on some of the young guys that we've drafted, and because when you draft players, they come into your building, they really don't have an understanding of what the NFL is like other than what they see, and so their interpretation of what NFL football is like, is watching Crosby show up at 5:30 in the morning, and watching Adams compete, and you mentioned a number of other guys, and I think that's a great way to to kind of build your overall identity as an organization. Is you put some guys in those positions of leadership. They do their job the right way. They embrace the grind of football year round and do the right things, and hopefully you have a team full of them, at some point.
Talk about what you can get out of the joint practices later this week. What do you want to see? Like, what are you looking for from your team? What are you kind of watching for? I want to see them do.
I think that's, like I said, it's not it's not going to be a big scheme-a-thon. It's just an opportunity to number one, compete. I think that's an important part of this, because I think that makes everybody better, and you see some competitive fire out of everybody. Two, I think it's an opportunity for you to really test your fundamentals, your discipline, the details and techniques that you've been working on, for, let's call it months, against yourself, against, bags and shells and all those things. Now you have an opportunity to go out there and, kind of see where you're at. And, and your rules have to, kind of lead the way, because you never know what you're going to see necessarily. Again, I don't think it'll be a big scheme-a-thon. I think this is going to be just two teams trying to improve, get better, play good football, and see where they stand. And a lot of people get opportunities. So I think it's just, and again, it's a great change up for us, as coaches, as organizations, to be able to, just line up against somebody different, because there is a little bit of, same as, every day you see the same thing. We go out in the red zone, it's the same stuff, and same coverages, same plays, et cetera. And so, be able to do some things against somebody who hasn't seen it all, I think is really, it's a break for the guys.
Josh, there's been some talk out there that kind of raises the question of the availability of Tyree Wilson this year. Is there any concerns of him not playing at all, or playing, or?
Not that I have.
So that he's going to be ready to go, hopefully for the start of this regular season?
I'm going to hope so, yeah. As soon as he's ready, he's going to be out there. And I think, like I said, there's been nothing that has told us that's not going to happen. So, same as.
How encouraged have you been with the defense making plays the last couple of days, and then also even when they're not making the play with the ball, they're trying to punch it out, and it's almost like it's habit forming.
Yeah, I think we've talked since the beginning of the offseason about being able to create more explosive plays defensively in terms of turnovers or negative plays, and I think if you practice it, and you practice it, and it becomes kind of part of your how you play on every play. You're hoping that that's going to carry over because you can't just not work on something and then the game start and say, okay, let's just force turnovers. You have to be able to try to do that in practice and work on the skills and techniques that that are required in order to do that. So I see our defense really challenging the offense in many ways. I think we have drills you guys see us run every day that are focused on trying to get the ball loose or get it out. I think we've had a number of guys that, have gotten closer to the football or gotten their hands on the ball and caught the ball. So that's a good part of training camp. To be able to build those fundamentals and start to gain some confidence in your ability to do that as a unit. Obviously, nothing provides more energy to the defense than when they take the ball away. So good to see in that regard. And offensively, we're trying to do a good job as best we can to try to keep it away from them too. So. It's a good battle.
You think it's been a more seamless transition for the new players in defense, and was that a goal of yours coming into this camp this year?
Meaning what, Vic?
Just like the adjustment in terms of guys to the system, kind of getting on the ground running a little bit this year.
You're talking about like the Epses and the Spillanes and those guys. Yeah, I think again, I talk about we kind of looked at ourselves last year and then evaluated it in the off season. What do we need to do? What can we do a little better to help ourselves? How do we really mold this around the people we have, and make good choices about that? And I think we've simplified some things, and that always makes things a little bit simpler in terms of being able to get up to speed and play fast on the field. And I think we're seeing some evidence that that's happening. And I think the maturity level and the intelligence level of the guys you just talked about, I think, that helps. You know what I mean? Because regardless of how you could do whatever you want with Marcus Epps, and Spillane and Face, and some of these guys are, Adam Butler, and these guys are, they're smart football players. They played a lot of football in their careers, maybe some other place, but they've seen a lot. And so being able to gather information from their coaches and go out there and execute it, becomes a little easier. So I like what we're trying to do. I think the guys are acclimating to it well, and they're continuing to try to get better.
Zamir talked yesterday about working to improve in the pass game, both catching balls out of the backfield and pass protection. How would you assess his progress this year compared to his rookie season in that area?
Yeah, it's definitely different, and the volume of things the volume of things you're going to see in the NFL are different, and the volume of responsibilities that you have back there in the passing game is just a little different, because you just see many different looks, and the defense tries to challenge you in a bunch of different ways, and to be able to follow your rules and do your job repeatedly the right way isn't always easy right away when you come from college. So I see growth for sure from him. Britton, same thing. They both have improved in the passing game in both areas, catching the ball, creating some plays for themselves, after they catch it, and then being able to do their job the right way and know who they have in protection and get a body on them. So I'm pleased with what we're seeing. And, again, that'll be challenged next week and, in the next few weeks here with some joint practices, which will be good. And but both guys are working extremely hard. Zamir certainly has made progress.
Levi, then Case.
Coach, a couple of days ago, Brandon Bolden came up on the podium and he said one of his teammates said, Brandon, you've been playing since Jesus created football. And with that being said, you've been around Brandon for a lot of his career. What are some things that you've noticed within the progression of his career, and also what do you believe he provides to this locker room as a veteran?
Yeah, I mean, undrafted guy, and, now we're double digits, in terms of his career. So I think that speaks to his work ethic, I think it speaks to how quickly he learned how to take care of his body. He realizes that, he's got some really strong assets that can help a team in multiple ways. And he's done a great job of taking care of his legs and, being able to run at a high level. Still has great speed, and now he's imparting wisdom, both on offense and in the kicking game. And super unselfish guy, very valuable in a lot of different roles, and great leadership. Practices, hard every single day, does the right thing off the field. Just a pleasure to be around. We're fortunate that he's here and able to rub off on some of our younger guys, but still able to contribute a significant, role in multiple ways for us this year, and he did last year.
I know there's competition everywhere, and a lot of guys are getting reps in training camp, obviously. But one spot where you had a lot of continuity, and we're still seeing a lot of guys rotating in, is offensive line. How would you characterize the competition up there specifically?
Yeah, we got 15 of them, and so we're fortunate that we've been able to stay, healthy up there. And when you got 15 guys up there that, are competing, you're going to see, this time of the year, you're going to see a lot of them in there, obviously. And again, I've mentioned before, I think it's really important to put different combinations together because for 17 games, plus the 3 in the preseason, and, you hope for more beyond that, it's unlikely that you're going to have the same 5 guys just standing beside each other the whole year without any kind of injuries or anything like that. So knowing who you're standing beside, knowing the type of communication that's required for the 2 of you or 3 of you to be on the same page, I think that's really important. That will always be something I believe in terms of, it can't just be the same right tackle, same right guard, same center every time, because then all of a sudden in the game something happens and somebody new's in there, and now, that communication doesn't feel the same. And so I think they need to get to know their teammates. There's guys that are pushing everywhere to compete, to play, which is great, and I think it makes all of them better. So the more that they can all talk the same language, the more they're on the same page, the better off we're all going to be. That's what I see from them.
Great, thank you, Coach.
Yep, thank you.
Thanks, Josh.